So I'm living every weeb's dream. I'm living in Japan and I'm living in Tokyo. So I have access to all of the interesting and vibrant parts of Japan that any weeb would be super grateful to have at their disposal. I lived in Australia for all my life and I had the opportunity to come to Japan on a working holiday. And I've been here for 8 months now. And the thing about Australia was, at the time I was living there, I just grew to, I guess, not really feel like I belong there and felt like I belong elsewhere. Maybe it's just privilege or curiosity, wanting to explore and see if things are better elsewhere. And now that I've come to Japan, somewhere that I know a lot about, I'm really interested in the culture, the media, and how it presents itself outside of Japan. I was really interested in coming here. And now that I've spent 8 months here so far, I don't really like living here. I know it's crazy for me to say, maybe. There's a lot of people that come here as tourists and really want to stay here longer. But as you probably know, being a tourist somewhere, anywhere in the world, versus actually living there and really being in the trenches of that lifestyle, whatever may come of it, good or bad, it's completely different. So we all know about the positives and negatives about Japan, but I just wanted to kind of live it myself. I've seen those videos of people talking about Japan and saying Japan is cooked and foreigners coming to Japan and realizing they don't like it or they love it. So I just wanted to experience it for myself. And I hadn't have come to Japan before I decided to do a working holiday, so it was a bit of a risk. But I always think, if my life was a book, would I want to read that book? And this is one of those things that makes my life more interesting and more able to read and teach the people that I come into contact with in the future. So why don't I like it here? Well, first, actually, I want to start with what I love about this place. And we all know these things. It's obviously very safe. There's kids running around catching trains by themselves. Like in Australia, that's not really a thing. Like, I'm talking ages from like 7 to like 10. They're catching trains and they're riding bikes in the streets. Maybe back in the day it was like that, but it's not anymore. We obviously love Japan's food. Now that I've actually tried ramen in Japan, I kind of say it's the first time I've ever tried it, because what we have in Australia is completely different. It's just like a completely different flavor and experience. And all those other things, it's obviously incredibly cheap if you're coming from one of those countries that does have a strong currency. Here, as I've been working here in Japan, the prices are still decent. They're probably on the level of if you were a working class person in Australia. The salaries are really low here. So for us, it seems really affordable and much better quality than what we'd get in our home country. But when you're actually living here, it's completely different. People are really nice with everyday interactions. The hospitality is absolutely amazing, and you never have friction. It's in rare circumstances things happen, but people in Japan have been brought up to make sure that they don't cause trouble for other people. So that is why things run really smoothly day to day. Public transport is a really good example of that. If you come to Japan, you line up on the sides. When the train gets there, you walk up to the side, you let everyone else come out, and then you go in. Something completely different from where I'm from. It's a nice change of pace. The culture, I don't really have to talk too much about that, but the shrines, historical stories, and ways of living that really inspire a lot of people in the West is a big reason why people come here. Now, let's talk about the things that I don't like here. Or I guess I could say the things that I've grown to appreciate that are in my own country, but I lack them here. So, if you've been here long enough, you know about the, I don't want to call it racism, but I guess the prejudice, the Japanese people tend to be a little bit cautious of people that aren't Japanese. So we've heard stories of the gaijin seat, meaning no one will sit next to you if you're a gaijin. Yeah, people still sit next to me, but it's not too common. It's common that I'll be sitting in the corner and people will stand up rather than sitting next to me. It's not because they think I'm going to hurt them. Oh, honestly, I'm not too sure. But I think it's just more so the uncertainty of what type of person I am. They've seen such a spectrum of people that aren't Japanese from different countries that have done things in Japan. But at times you know, I've been called gaijin, but in passing, I get stares here and there. I get just uncomfortable feelings from people sometimes. I'm an average sized guy in Australia. I'm like 5'11", play basketball, and I'm bigger than most Japanese guys, so maybe that's part of the issue. But it is case by case. You have people that are a little bit more skeptical than others. So uh, I guess because I've been here long enough, I've been able to experience what it's like to be treated like a normal person versus to be treated like someone who's different. And back home in Australia, we're a very multicultural place. There's obviously people that are bad eggs and, do just blurt out racist comments. But there's a lot more acceptance in different cultures in Australia if you kind of put effort and you show you're an Australian person by the way you talk, the way you do things, being nice. Here, no matter how much Japanese you know, no matter how much anime you watch, no matter how nice you are to people, you will never be Japanese. Even people that are Japanese, grow up somewhere else, come to Japan, they will never be Japanese in the eyes of Japanese people. So it's just kind of how they've been brought up, and that's just how it is. I'm someone who came from another country and I'm living here and I want the best of both worlds. It's not really plausible. So that's something you got to deal with if you want to live in Japan. And the other thing is the unhappiness level. There's actually this chart and it measures the happiness of a certain population. Bro, don't ask me how it does it, but like it does. So, for example, most of the countries in the top 5 to 10 are like Switzerland and those type of European countries. Australia is actually 11th, so I guess I have it lucky there. But if you haven't looked at this chart, Japan is like 50 something, and that might be a surprise. But when you really do the research and you live here, people are nice to each other during day-to-day interactions. But that's because of that saying, don't cause trouble to other people. And because of that, there is a lot of loneliness here, and people keep to themselves because they don't want to annoy or burden people around them. And if you've experienced mental health issues and you know that you need to talk to someone about it, you need to talk to friends, you need to talk to family. But when the culture is around, keeping things to yourself to not burden other people, that's when things get most destructive. And I actually learned this yesterday. I was on the train and there was a delay on a different line and it was saying personal injury occurrence or whatever it may be. And I was like, I've heard the stories. I'm like, is that what that means? Um, and I was doing some research, and usually I think about roughly half the time, and apparently it happens quite a few times a week, sometimes even once a day, where people will use the trains to end their life. That's a big issue in Japan, actually. They crack down and they actually find the family that of the person like tens of thousands of dollars. It's like, yeah, it's kind of sad, man, but y'all got to pay this. It's it's kind of crazy, and the hardest part is it's such a happy society from when you look on the outside. Even when you're living in it. You go to the grocery store, you go to 7-Eleven, you go to izakaya, everyone's smiling. Everyone's using honorific words to each other. But people are hurting inside. And that's something that kind of goes deeply against like how I've been brought up. You talk when you're feeling like you need to talk. So without going too deep into this topic, because I'm not licensed to talk too much about it, so I'm just talking about my experiences from being in this country, but also living somewhere in Australia where people talk about their feelings, sometimes maybe too much. And I think another thing that I've noticed a lot, and I noticed when I came here, but I didn't think anything of it. It's the sexual media of everything. All the ads, billboards. It's crazy. It's so different to like most countries that like I know. And you see like the billboards of like girls in school uniforms and like advertising to come into the girl club to try and chat to women. And if you watch anime, most of these like girls that we grew up watching, if you if you're like me, you watch Naruto or like one of the big three, most of these girls, they're all underage. And there's anime that go deeper, you know, school anime, and they make these girls super provocative. When you really dig deep, it creates this unrealistic expectation of women, but also a deep and unhealthy relationship of what men should find attractive. It's just something I don't want my future kid to be like brought up with. It's just it's just crazy. Anyway, I'm not going to rant on too much about that. The bad working environment, the salaries are so incredibly low here. They're equivalent to like $7 an hour, and it's not in, you don't get tips here in Japan, so the minimum wage is just that. The last thing I want to touch on is how Japanese people are, in my opinion, a little bit too obedient. They have these low salaries and sometimes terrible working conditions, but because they're taught not to cause trouble for other people, they just take it. Prices go up in Japan, salaries don't. And when that happens, the first, well, it seems like the first reaction of the Japanese person, the average Japanese person, is to say, okay, I just got to spend less money now. They never get to say anything about it because that's just how they've been brought up. Saying something about it, you don't want to be that person that sticks their head above the trees because it's going to get chopped down. And part of the reason why it is really difficult for someone that's not Japanese to integrate to a certain extent, it's because of that. You look different. You have different experience. You can't conform as much compared to someone who's Japanese who looks Japanese but also has grew up here their whole life. So because you look different, and that's kind of like something that Japanese people find super important to blend into society. Your first impression is you don't blend in, you're not Japanese, so that's kind of part of their wiring to not trust someone because they aren't integrated or blended into the society. And I think living here, I have realized how much I depend on the love and belongingness, if that's a word, felt from the people around me. No family here, no really any friends here. I definitely know I want to go back. Whether I go back to Australia and I still think it's not the right place for me, I'm not sure, but I definitely know I'm going to feel a lot more grateful for those things I didn't feel grateful for when I was living in Australia. So if you're planning on moving somewhere, whether it be Japan or somewhere else, don't take what I'm saying as you shouldn't do it. You fucking should do it, man. Like, because of this experience, I'm now better able to appreciate what I have and what I had. Maybe if I stayed there, I would have been just a miserable little shit for the rest of my life. And I wouldn't have experienced new things. There's a lot that's come out of this trip that I'm super grateful for. And I might even do it again. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if I picked up a book and the first page was talking about how this little kid, so much potential, had his life to live, decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay here. Like, I don't like it that much, but whatever it may be, whatever reason, there's always a reason. Always. I'm someone who's so good at coming up with reasons why I shouldn't do something. I think of it as a skill that's gonna cause my demise. So I was like, fuck it. I've never been to Japan, but I've got the opportunity to do it. I'm gonna do it. And I have some really difficult days. Um, I've had a lot of difficult days here. And the more difficult days I have, the more good days I have, the more days where I'm uncertain how they're going to be. I'm doing things, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. That book becomes a bit more readable every time one of those things happens. I don't want my book, my life to be someone I can't read to my kids. That's where I'm getting at. So you should do it. You should do it in your own way. You should make sure that you're ready to do it. Maybe you can't do it. There's other ways to populate that book with stories and reasons to keep going. So you figure it out. Appreciate you guys listening. I ranted a little bit. Forgive me. But I hope this kind of gave you some insight on traveling in Japan and just being grateful for what you do have. Because I haven't seen my family, I haven't seen my friends, and damn, I had no idea how much I would miss them. I think that's what really makes me, anyway, feel like I belong more than anything else. I appreciate you guys listening to my therapy session. It helps me a lot. So it'd be great if you guys do learn something. If you have anything to say, let me know. Got no subscribers, so I've got all the time in the world to comment back on whatever you say. If there's anything I could learn from you, or anything we could learn from each other, any questions you have about Japan or anything along those lines, I'm still living here, so trying to enjoy as much as I can. And there's a lot of things to enjoy, but I'm feeling homesick and I'm ready. But I'm gonna stick it out and keep on learning and writing that metaphorical book. Appreciate y'all.